Hey everyone, this is Elena Litvinova, and in this lesson I'm going to start a serious video which will be about TypeScript config. I'm gonna to go through every single properties which this config has and study everything. Okay, how we will go with it? I created an example and we will try to add different properties and to look on examples and to see how they help us in our programs. I mean properties, yes? Okay, I'm going to create 6 videos which will be about TypeScript config. We will study step by step, and in this lesson we will cover type checking properties from compiler options. Are you ready to study? Are you ready? Are you ready to go through this config and understand every single properties? If you are, then let's go. But before, not forget to subscribe on this channel, press bell icon, not miss next videos, yes, and go to study. Psh. First of all, we need to install TypeScript and understand what is TypeScript config. I believe you know, if you started to study this video, you need these properties. Okay, for that, you need command npm, and if you, for example, install Node.js, then this command will be available for your terminal. After it, you need to install TypeScript. Install TypeScript globally, TypeScript, and after you did it, what you can do, you can, for example, create a folder mkdir, for example, my super TypeScript program, and we go to this folder and do this command tsconfig.json. After it, we can open this folder, not like that, file, add folder to workspace, and find this folder, and what we have here, we have a folder, and inside of it you can see TypeScript config. This config helps us to understand how TypeScript will work with your program and how it will help you to manage your code and make it better and better. And yeah, I forget to say that I have 2 amazing videos about TypeScript, and if you not watched them yet, then go ahead and yes, watch them, of course. They really I had really super good explanation here about TypeScript, what is it and which possibilities TypeScript provide to us. Okay, in this lesson we will be studying TypeScript config. Okay, with tsconfig.json we have this TypeScript config.json, and this JSON created by default, and you can visit the site with documentation about this TypeScript config, this website, and let's look what this config have. There are several groups about this config. Compiler options, and also additional options, top level, files, extends, include, exclude, and references. And also there is some groups like compiler options, watch options, and type acquisition. And next root fields, which is file, extends, and etc. And in this series of video, I'm going to cover every single property which we have here and go through it together with you, with fun, interesting, and try with me. Because bear with me and we will study everything. Okay. In this lesson, we will cover type checking, all properties which is this, yes. And we will try them on different examples. Okay, after when we make tsconfig.init, we have this file where we have the minimum properties which TypeScript config provide to us. For example, target, which is set JavaScript language version, formatted JavaScript. It could be ECMAScript 2016. It means that when we will browser don't understand TypeScript, and we can write our program on TypeScript, but TypeScript is something on JavaScript. TypeScript help you to add different types and make programs more clear understanding, but JavaScript is the main important language, and browsers understand JavaScript. And when you compile your program after with tsconfig command, we will do it. All TypeScript files compile into JavaScript files. And here we just can set version of this JavaScript. Yes. Also modules, for example, common.js, which will be also compiled. And what's next? And several additional properties. We will cover all of them. Okay, let's go here. I prepare a special project where we will play and add some additional main important properties. Without them, our TypeScript will not be compiled, and because of it, I added it. And we, with you, will start from properties type checking, as I said. And I also prepared some examples here, and in project.ts I copied all of them from TypeScript documentation, because I believe it's really important to have connection with documentation. And all examples I copy from this documentation, and we will see how different properties affect highlights and TypeScript files. Okay, let's start to study. Also, I prepared additional file with some explanation. I also copied everything of it from the documentation. And if you want to go through documentation, you can click on this property and see almost the same example. Sometimes I just change several of them, but not so much. Okay, let's start. First property, allow unreadable code. What it means? Okay, let's try to add in our config just like that. This is JSON, and put it true. And what we have in our example, if it's true, it means that unreadable code is ignored and everything okay. If it's false, it raised compiler error about unreadable code. If, for example, put in false, then we can see that TypeScript file help us to understand that this return never will be read by program, because, for example, we have a function, we have return here and return here, and everything what we have here, for example, we have, I don't know, a loop, everything what we have here will never be compiled, and our program never will be here, and this code not use, doesn't use, and doesn't need, and because of it we can just remove it. And TypeScript help us to understand this with this property. If we put it to true, what we can see, we actually not see this highlighting, and looks that everything is okay. If we not put this property at all, then we can see just that our VS Code editor just show us that something is strange here with more dark color, yes, but anyway not highlight, because this property is really helpful and we can leave it. Okay, let's go next. Allow unused labels. This property has the same values which is previous one. And for example, if undefined provides suggestions as warning to editor, true, unused labels are ignored, false, raised compiler errors about unused labels. Okay, let's look what is labels in JavaScript. Actually, before I started preparation for this video, I really forget what is labels, because it's quite rare using in JavaScript. But for example, if you have several loops which could be inside each other, yes, nested loops, and for example, in one nested loop you won't continue previous loop, and for that If you, for example, have just continue, will continue nested loop, this one. But if you want that it will be previous one, you should to use special labels, and syntaxes of them looks like that. And this property just help us to understand which labels we not use. For example, this we never use, and because we can remove it. It's quite useful property. If we put to true, we cannot see this error. Yes, I believe that this thing is really quite helpful. Okay, left. Go next. Always strict. This property help us. Okay, let's show what is explanation here. Ensure that your files are parsed in ECMAScript strict mode and emit useStrict for each source file. Usually when you write your JavaScript program, in the beginning of each JavaScript file, you should to put useStrict mode, which is help you not have additional JavaScript errors, and it means that your JavaScript will be more strict. I will share with you link about strict mode a little later. But for example, let's try to play. If you put always strict into true, and let's try to compile tsconf, and oh sorry, not this program, tsconfig YouTube, yeah, tsconf. And how we can see, it was created JavaScript file, and here we have useStrict. If, for example, I remove this property and try compile again, then useStrict disappear. If we go into this property again and just look what is useStrict, I just attach this link to the video and you will be able to read. Okay, go next. We studied it, always strict. Actually, this is quite useful property because we left it. Okay, go next. Next property is exactOptionalPropertyTypes. Okay, let's try to add this. I just removed this file, sorry. Yes. Without this flag enabled, there are 3 values. Okay, this is not so bad, so good explanation. Let's just try to add this property and try to understand what it means. And this property always need to provide strict null checks. Strict null checks true. And what this property help to us? For example, we have interface in our program. We have name string, which is important, and have color theme override, which is not important, but there are value for this property, dark and light. And we have at the same time our object. We set here our interface, and after it we try to set using index signature new property, use dark or light. And we can set here dark or light, but we can't provide undefined. At the same time, how you can see, question mark means that we can have undefined here, but we cannot use language like that. I mean, if we try to set something in color theme override, we cannot put here undefined. And this property is about it, that exactly optional property types. If you put here false, then this error disappear. Quite interesting property. Okay, use. Next property, noFallthroughCasesInSwitch. Let's look what is that. If we put it true, for example, let's look on this switch case. If we, for example, forget any break or return, what it means, how switch case works. A switch case works next way that if there is not return or break, then program go to next case, and it will be before we not see break or return. And yes, it's quite unexpected and better not forget any break or return. And this property just show us that you not forget it. If, for example, I put here false and I forget break, there is no one mistake. I can put return here. Yes, it also will work with true. Everything is okay. Quite useful property use. Okay, next, noImplicitAny true. What it means, for example, if I forget here pass an argument, it means that this argument is any, and I can have mistake, for example, there. When I call this function with 42, this is number, but I expect here a string. And if, for example, if I put here false, this error disappear and I will have mistake, and better to have it here and always provide types string, and then we will have error here, what just help us to understand that number is not assignable to parameter of type string. Amazing property, use it. noImplicitOverride. Let's look on next property, what it means. Okay, for example, we have class album and there is a method set up here. Also, we have additional two classes, which is extends from album. What means extends? It means that in this class will be available all properties and methods from extended class, from this one. And we also can override some methods or properties, and sometimes it could be quite unexpected if, for example, you have a quite large program. Because of it, it's really cool to add additional word here. This property just help us to see these override methods and not forget about it. For example, if I not put override word here, then I see highlight error. If I really sure that I want to override this method, I just put this word and everything will okay. And this property is about it. If I put here false, then we not see error. Really useful property, should to use. Okay, go next. noImplicitReturn. Okay, let's look what it means. For example, noImplicitReturns true. And for example, we have a function which returns string or undefined, and I forget to make return. But at the same time, this function anyway returns undefined, yes? But noImplicitReturns, it means that I always need to return something from function. Of course, I believe it's not void, for example. If it will be void, then I can return undefined. Yes, and I have not highlight because it's void, but I can make return. But if I have something like string and undefined, I need provide return. Yes, and not forget about it. Okay, let's also check, for example, if I have string and I do something like that, I have highlight here. Yes, need to return undefined. And this not depend on it. Yeah, this not depend on it. Okay, quite useful property. And return. Cool. Okay, go next. noImplicitThis. What it means. Let's look on this class rectangle. There is width, height, in constructor we pass these properties. And also we have two functions, and in first one we can see highlight error, which said that this implicitly has type any because it doesn't have a type annotation. And actually this is not connected with this because we use here function declaration, and function means that we have open this here, and our this from class is lost. And if you don't want to lose it, you need to use arrow function. And here we will have error. And this property helps us to highlight this problem. If I return it, I not see this problem because really useful property. Okay, go next. No property access from index signature. Let's try to study this thing. Okay, what we have here? For example, we have game settings, speed, quality, and we have key and string. And what we have inside? Okay, this is interface. We have speed, quality, and there is a lot, and can be in this an object, any object with this interface. We also can have a lot of different properties which have key string, and they have to be equal strings. Yes, for example, we have speed, quality, test, and something like that. And this property just help us to say that we can't to have access to property using index signature through dot. And we should use something like that. Yep. Actually, I'm not super have idea why it looks like that, because for me it's not super useful. But okay, we can have different properties which is could start, I don't know, for example, from numbers, which is not valid for JavaScript, and we should use quarters. But for example, for test, I really can use the thing, but no, I can't in this context. Yes, and this property just help us to highlight this problem. Okay, go next. No unchecked indexes access. Let's try to understand what is it. Wow. For example, we have interface with some properties. There is name OS, and also there is index signature where prop name is string and string. And we create an variable which is environment vars. And when we hover on this thing, here we expect that this is string because we declared it here. But for example, if we try to have access any other properties which was declared here, we are not sure will be it string or undefined, and this property just help us to show that this could be string or undefined. If I remove it, it will be just only string, yes, and it will be an error. Return. Okay, first, no unused locals, not params. Okay, no unused locals. Report errors on unused locals variables. And let's look what it means. For example, we have, I don't know, any part of code, and there is a variable and we never use it. And TypeScript just help us to highlight this and say, oh my god, you don't use it. Why you have it here? And yes, if you put it true, we see that. If we put it false, we not see it. But at the same time, VS Code editor show us that, look at it, something wrong. Better put true. Next, no unused parameters. This is about parameters in function. And for example, if we put here true, what we have? We have highlight this, that model ID is declared, but its value is never read. Really amazing needed properties. Go next, strict mode. True. What means strict? Strict just means that all these properties, which we already studied, not all of them, but we soon do that, will set in true. And it's only what this property do. If we, for example, return and click on strict, what we can see, all these related properties. If we click on any of this property, we can see related strict. It just helps us remove, all this property from config and just pass true for them. Okay, for now I just remove this strict just because we will study next properties. Okay, strictBindApply. What it helped to us? Let's study people. Okay, when set it true, TypeScript will check that the built-in methods of functions call, bind, and apply are invoked with correct arguments for the underlying function. Yeah, interesting that it doesn't work without it, but if you not have this property here, you can pass wrong argument here. For example, we have a function here, we have string, but we can use call, bind, apply. For example, with call we just call this function and we call it with string, everything is okay. We can call it with boolean, and here it will be not okay. And for example, if we pass it here false, we not see this error because we need this property. Yep. Okay, next, strict function types. Comma, strict function types, true. What it means? Go in our example. Well, let's look on example. For example, we have function which is in fun5, we have string as a parameter and console.log here, and we really expect that it is a string. After it, we have additional type, string or number function, which is have parameters string or number and void. Almost like that, but here we just have string. And we say that function 1, create a new function 1, has this type and equal here function 5. And after it call this function with number, for example, and here we will an error. And this property help us to provide an error that type number is not assignable to type string. For example, if I return it false, so then I will not see an error, yes. But if, for example, I put here boolean, then yes, we will see this error because boolean is not assignable to type string. But if we have something like that, number, then we could see it. Cool. Because not forget to pass this property as well. Psh. Okay, go next. Next property, strictNullChecks. Extremely important property, believe me, people. I already have it here because this property need to provide with previous one. Okay, let's look what it means. We have a variable with string and we have an array users, which is name, age, and etc. And after it, we have logged in user and we try to find user which is logged in username. Yes. And what is we can have here? Function find, if it not find any user, it will return undefined. But here we try to have access to age, and here we will have error. And this property just help us to see that logged in user is possibly undefined. And if we pass here false, yes, I just comment this property, I not see this error, and this is problem. Yes, because of it, of course, not forget to provide this important property. Go next. Next, strict property initialization. What is about it? Let's try to play with it. If we pass it true, what we have here? Oh, we have highlight. We initialize that email is important property for this class. Yes, there is no question mark here or exclamation mark. Yeah, and because of it, we have to do something like that. Email is, I don't know, name, for example. Yeah, I know this is super wrong code, but just to show you an example, yes, we have to set email in constructor, and this property help us to see that if I pass here false, I just can see that, yoo-hoo, I not see this error. Psh. Everything is broken, I fired from the job. Remember this property. Okay, next, use unknown in catch variables. What it means? Extremely difficult properties. Actually, everything is easy. People, in this life, everything is easy if you believe in it. Believe me, just believe. Okay, for example, this property just, if we have try catch, yes, and we have an error, usually here we have type any, but any it's not good to use in TypeScript because what is any, but to use unknown because we don't know. Yes, and here it just changed because what is different between any and unknown, you, for example, can't go to different properties from error, and which could provide us errors because we don't know what is unknown. But if it, for example, any, we can do it. And better use unknown, and if we pass false here, it means that this variable has any type, and better to use unknown. And here, for example, we ask error is an instance of error, and here we can be sure that this is error type and have access to property message. Well, and I think on this note we finish study type checking. In the next lesson we will look on types modulus and emit. Okay, I hope this lesson will extremely useful for you. Now you definitely know how different properties work. We go through all properties from type checking and try to play with them and be sure that everything works right and correct, and understand how all properties works. And in next lesson we will study modulus and emit. Of course, not forget to subscribe on my channel, press bell icon and like button, and see you in next video. Bye bye.